What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. So I want to talk about 5 non-nootropics, like these are classified as non-nootropics, that have nootropic-like abilities to them. Pretty potent ones and pretty impressive ones. I think this is going to be cool for you folks. In the meantime, look, the BOGO on Cortex is still live. So it essentially got extended for Cyber Monday. It was a Black Friday special initially. Buy one, get one free on the Cortex stack. Yesterday was Cyber Monday. We're going to run it through the rest of this week. At this point, we got about 220 or so bottles to get rid of it. Buy one, get one free. So our loss is your gain. Go to livecortex.com, add a bottle of the Cortex stack to your cart. Once you have the bottle added to the cart, just use the coupon code GET1 as you see in the graphic to my right, or up there in the graphic, and hit apply coupon code. When you see a coupon code applied successfully, it worked. That's it. You'll get a free bottle per what you buy. So if you buy one, totally cool, you get one free. If you buy 5, you'll get 5 free. However many you buy of Cortex, we will match for free right now at livecortex.com. So go take advantage of that because that's going to end very soon. Also, this broadcast has been brought to you by a new service that we just launched. It's the 1-year Nootropics Energy and Optimization Consult. You know, we do these large-scale consults with largely business people who just need their productivity up 50% to 100%. They need brain performance and total mental optimization up significantly. We work on a myriad of things in these consults. The 1 year gets you me with you for a year to address every single thing that has to do with energy, right? We fix your energy baseline, fix pretty much every kind of issue that you have related to cognitive function. And then with research chemicals and nootropics and other chemicals, we fully optimize brain function so that you can hammer your to-do list and get the most output. Get the 1-year intensive nootropics energy optimization consult on the homepage at livecortex.com on the product roster. Okay, so I want to talk about a bunch of different compounds, 5 different compounds that are non-nootropics, but that they act like nootropics. And I want to kind of give you some of the research on it, what they do for me, and how exactly they act as nootropics. All right, so the first one that I want to talk about, we'll go down here to compounds, is Licorice Root. Okay, Licorice Root. Licorice Root is a really impressive compound. There's a lot of guys that I work with, and that because they're hard-charging business people, they have catalyzed the extra release of cortisol, and that's sort of fussed with cortisol receptors, downregulated cortisol projection, and deranged the hypothalamus, where a lot of that originates and signals. As a result, their energy is pretty bad. And, you know, for the life of them, they can't figure it out. They've taken B vitamins, they've taken, Chaka Mushroom, they've taken a lot of caffeine, in some cases other nootropics, and it's just really not doing it for them. We bring in Licorice Root because I suspect that the issue is related to adrenal hormone function, and particularly cortisol, and then they start to very quickly get better and have a lot of energy, and then interestingly respond better to nootropics. What it is doing is it's essentially preventing the breakdown of cortisol to cortisone, so it's allowing you to accumulate a little more cortisol, and that has a number of downstream positive effects. There have been people that have taken Licorice Root consistently, and pretty shortly after starting, have had pretty noticeable increases in libido, and that is likely due to the HPG axis, essentially the hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis, and that being optimized via this extra optimization of hypothalamus function. Listen, cortisol is always regarded as like this terrible thing that you don't want to have, and for some people, when it gets too high and out of control, it can be bad. It can start damaging other tissues in your body, and it isn't good. But for the majority of people that I've seen, they need more cortisol. They need to make more cortisol, and Licorice Root is one of those compounds that does that. Most of the folks that I have suggested it to, when I've seen that there was a need for it, take it in the morning, and instead of them dragging the whole morning and having to rely on coffee and that even really not doing the trick, they actually wake up energized. They go to the gym, they feel great, they're not like taxed after their workout. Think about that, cortisol, right? They have more energy later on to execute work. and it's become a staple in a lot of people's regimens. I actually do take Licorice Root, not every day. I want to say like 4 or 5 times a week, so pretty much somewhat consistently. And yeah, it just gives me a good baseline energy. I want to be making enough cortisol. I had some issues with cortisol production years ago, and so it's still a staple in my regimen for the most part. Number 1 on my list of nootropics, non-nootropics that act like nootropics, is Licorice Root. Very, very impressive compound. Please look into it. Number 2, this is gonna be a quick one because we've talked about it before, and then we'll get into some really impressive ones, is Chaka Mushroom. Chaka Mushroom, okay? You know, I first like learned about Chaga on like a Tim Ferriss post where he was like, man, instead of like taking nootropics that are cholinergically based, because I think Tim Ferriss had this long stint with cholinergics, and then it seems as if the dude overdid it and then was like, I'm sort of stepping back from fussing with acetylcholine. So obviously the next logical step would be, well, let me find some other compounds that'll give me nootropic-like energy, but then I'm not necessarily taking nootropics, and Chaka Mushroom is one of them. Interestingly, though it has immune system modulating benefits, what I think it's doing actually is working on the cholinergic system by way of increasing brain quantities of acetylcholine. And I say that referencing a study that discusses the following. Chaga extract reduced cognitive dysfunction in animal studies by reducing oxidative damage caused by a plant toxin, scopolamine. And if those of you that study racetams, you know that scopolamine is an anticholinergic agent that is often used to validate whether or not a racetam has potent cholinergic activity. So scopolamine reduces memory function, actually induces kind of like a little bit of a, I don't want to call it amnesia, but it fusses with your memory. Chaka Mushroom reversed that effect and was able to restore levels of acetylcholine in this paper. So that's really, really cool. Chaka Mushroom is number 2 on my non-nootropics that act like nootropics. Okay, on the mushroom front, the next one is the cordyceps mushroom. Okay, this is a very, very underrated compound. It's used for a lot of things, for restoring libido if it has to do with dopamine receptor function, particularly D2, but also it just tends to give people a baseline energy and focus that, yeah, is above their baseline. Probably the best regimen for cordyceps that I found for energy and general mental optimization is a gram in the morning, a gram at 3 p.m., and then another gram at like 6 p.m. So you're taking 3 grams total in a day, and you're just sort of spacing it out to keep the effect live. In cordyceps mushroom, that is the last of the mushrooms we're going to talk about, but very impressive compound, non-nootropic technically, but acts like a nootropic. Moving on to number 4. Now this is where things are really about to get interesting. Number 4 non-nootropics that act like nootropics is Cistanche, okay? And I will point you to a paper called The Antidepressant and Cognitive Improvement Activities of the Traditional Chinese Herb Cistanche, where it goes to say, sorry, my cat is like totally messing with my desk here. The administration of C. tubulosa, which is Cistanche tubulosa, resulted in upregulation of central dopamine concentration and the downregulation of serum corticosteroid concentration, which is really super interesting. So essentially what it's saying is central dopamine concentrations, the active quantity of dopamine floating around for cells to use to bind to receptors to produce their responsibilities, which is motivation, libido, drive, energy to do things, interest in things, is enhanced by taking Cistanche. Cistanche also doubles as a total testosterone enhancing compound. It's one of the most impressive compounds. It's in the Viking testosterone protocol. I take Cistanche at this stage every day. Cistanche also shuttles cholesterol into the testosterone synthesis process. So it's a very, very impressive compound. But aside from that, and in line with the dopamine thing, it actually makes you feel more energized. Like if you go read reviews about it on Amazon or elsewhere, people are like, man, it's like a jolt of energy. When I take it, it's noticeable. I take Cistanche, I take it in, it really depends because there's different protocols that I'm running at different times. Lately, it's been a heaping tablespoon, which is probably about a gram. In the morning, and not only does it make my gym workout more powered, my brain feels better. Like my brain is like livelier, I have more energy. It's like a nootropic, but it is not a nootropic. And again, critically, Cistanche resulted in the upregulation of central dopamine concentration. Very, very impressive effect, and you can find that on a paper called The Antidepressant and Cognitive Improvement Activities of the Traditional Chinese Herb Cistanche. All right, fifth compound that I want to talk about, which also has to do with testosterone and is incredibly impressive, and I hadn't heard about it until about a year ago. Brought it in, started fussing with it recently to get test results, but interestingly, it made my brain work a lot better, and that is L-carnitine L-tartrate. L-carnitine L-tartrate. Okay, I'm like fat fingering this here because I have a Band-Aid on my finger and from this cut yesterday. I was trying to open a thing of grass-fed beef that was frozen with a knife, and it slipped and I stabbed myself in the freaking finger and it really hurts. Okay, so L-carnitine L-tartrate is this incredibly powerful compound that what it is essentially doing as it relates to mental optimization and energy is it's doing two things. Carnitine and carnitine derivatives or analogs like LCAR, they help you to shuttle fatty acids into the brain and then use them in mitochondria for energy production, right? So very useful for just having general mental energy. And the stuff does wake you up. You know, you take a gram or two of L-carnitine L-tartrate, it wakes you up. That with coffee alone sometimes is enough to get me like, all right, I feel pretty good. But what it also does that I found out recently, and for the record, those of you that are trying to boost test, I've been using it in my own testosterone protocols and then with some other folks to see if we can get similar results, is it modifies androgen receptors in the way of upregulation. So it actually increases the amount of androgen receptors that you have, and then it increases the density of existing androgen receptors. This is actually really, and thus downstream you get a focus, mental alertness, kind of energy effect. Like, having test actually bind to the receptors is where you get the results. And interestingly, my work in PSSD has shown me, and kind of working with other people that have sexual dysfunction, that in some cases, aside from the serotonin dopamine system being out of whack, it's this phenomenon of androgen receptor silencing. That actually is a thing, and it's not exclusive to people that have PSSD. L-carnitine L-tartrate can help people in that regard because the basis of androgen receptor silencing, meaning testosterone can't really bind to those receptors and cause the effect testosterone has, the effect is you actually get the noticeable response from testosterone. Very, very important. And in the cases of PSSD, the androgen receptor silencing is testosterone's inability to actually bind to those receptors and cause the downstream effect of having tests. So you can have this is why people have like super high test numbers, but they don't have sexual function, right? I mean, there's other things involved, but for those that have testosterone receptor silencing, this helps them a great degree, but it also produces energy. So it's helping you to respond better to tests, and then it's also showing fatty acids to your brain for them to be used for energy. L-carnitine L-tartrate, do not, totally underrated, and do not underestimate. It's a very powerful compound. I'm gonna give you a bonus one here because it's such an awesome compound to isolate exclusively. Excuse spelling if I didn't spell that right, and that's phosphatidylcholine. When we discuss uridine, one of the major things that uridine and a choline source is doing is it's making you build more phospholipids, and one of them is phosphatidylcholine. Phosphatidylcholine is pretty important for the integrity of cell membranes, meaning the outer structure of those membranes. It actually contributes to building them, and when you have a strong integrity in cell membranes, in the brain, in brain cells particularly, you have a more fluid brain. Phosphatidylcholine also helps restore general brain levels of acetylcholine. So it's a very, very impressive compound, but not actually in the classical set of nootropics that we discuss. You can get just regular phosphatidylcholine supplements on their own, and it's not going to produce a very stimulatory, noticeable major effect, but it does make the brain a lot more fluid, and that's great for verbal fluency specifically. Okay, so number 6 as a bonus is phosphatidylcholine, very, very powerful compound. Okay, so I will run through the compounds again for you guys just so that you understand. If folks want to go experiment with these, I would advise it. Do your research first, understand if it fits for you, if it makes sense, and if so, enjoy. Number one, licorice root, very powerful for elevating levels of cortisol. What I found is that more people than not actually need to have cortisol a little higher than they do and have a degree of deficiency in it based on how hard they charge, either in the gym or at work. Number two, Chaka Mushroom, basically restores levels of acetylcholine, very, very powerful compound. Also modulates the immune system in a positive way. Number three, cordyceps, D2 receptor, dopamine D2 receptor upregulator, energy inducer. Powerful for sexual function, powerful for mental energy, cordyceps mushroom. Number four, Cistanche, one of the most impressive compounds on the planet. Upregulation of the central dopamine concentration in acute use. So in the acute phases of using it, you've got upregulation of central dopamine concentration, which is really, really powerful. You know, not just for energy and mental energy and stuff, but for libido and for general happiness. Number five, L-carnitine L-tartrate. Modifies and upregulates androgen receptors, actually makes you make more, and then increases the density of existing androgen receptors. People get confused about tests because they've got super high test numbers, total test and free test, but they're not noticing the response from test. And that is likely due to androgen receptor downregulation, or in some heavy cases like PSSD, androgen receptor silencing. L-carnitine L-tartrate is a great weapon in the arsenal to resolve that situation. And lastly, phosphatidylcholine. Build more brain. Acetylcholine protects the structure and integrity of cell membranes, which usually equals general brain fluidity, which as it relates to what we want to do with nootropics equals verbal fluency. Very, very powerful compound. Guys, thank you so much for being with me. Remember, Cortex stack right now, buy one, get one free, still for Cyber Monday, and then we're just gonna kind of do like a Cyber Week special on it. So go to livecortex.com, get a bottle of the Cortex stack, add it to your cart. Once it's added, then you use the coupon code GET1, GET space ONE. It says it on the graphic right there to my right. Hit apply coupon code. Once it applies successfully, you're done. On our side, when we ship your order, if we see that coupon code, we ship you free bottles per what you buy. So if you buy one bottle, we'll ship you another bottle for free. We'll match anything you buy with free bottles. You buy 5 bottles, we'll send you 5 bottles for free. You're getting 10 total. If you buy 10 bottles, and people have done this in this special so far, we send you 10 free, you get 20 total. BOGO on Cortex right now, ending soon. Use the coupon code GET1, do it at livecortex.com. That is one of the, well, it's really the best special we ever run on Cortex. Haven't run a BOGO in months. It is now back. BOGO on Cortex, go get Cortex. Those of you wanting to try it for the first time, this is also a great opportunity to do that. Those of you that get Cortex on a constant sort of regimen, like you take it, you know, somewhat all the time, but you kind of have it in your regimen alternating between different nootropics. You have a lot of customers that just constantly are buying Cortex. Go buy some now because it's freaking BOGO and this is the best deal on the planet. livecortex.com. Also, this broadcast has been brought to you by the 1-year intensive Nootropics Energy Optimization Consult. Look, work with me for a year to fix all of your energy issues and then fully optimize brain function so that you as a business person, which is our primary target and primary class of people that work with us on these larger scale consults, can get a lot more done, right? We will increase your productivity. You will feel like a different man. You will feel like a different person. Your brain will perform at optimal levels where you're like, I definitely don't want to go back. And we'll set you up to function awesomely with that console. Get it at livecortex.com. Guys, thank you so much for watching. More videos to come soon. We'll talk to you next time.